Since the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1788, there have been people fighting for their rights outlined within it. The mockery of the thin blue line is commonplace today as meta-commentary implying the police do not in fact protect us. The phrase thin blue line is an adaptation of the phrase the thin red line, which originally described the 1854 Battle of Balaclava in the Crimean War, where 500 British soldiers and about 100 Ottoman soldiers held off an attacking force of 2,500 Russian cavalry and artillery. The Times correspondent described it as thin red streak tipped with a line of steel. That's where you get your thin line from. A subsequent attack during this battle is the infamous Charge of the Light Brigade, where French soldiers bravely and futilely attempted to retake territory. The phrase thin red line is now attributed to firefighters, while police have inherited the phrase thin blue line. The phrase and flag are meant to acknowledge the important role of the few police standing between good citizens and criminals, which are supposedly the stripes above and below the blue line. In 1988, film director Errol Morris released a documentary called The Thin Blue Line about the trial and conviction of Randall Dale Adams for the Randall Dale Adams. This is a tricky one. For the 1976 shooting of Dallas police officer Robert W. Wood, Morris became interested in the case while doing research for a film about Dr. James Grigson, a psychiatrist known in Texas as Dr. Death for testifying with 100% certainty of a defendant's recidivism, or possibility essentially to continue committing crimes, in many trials, including that of Randall Adams, so essentially condemning them due to his expert opinion. While I don't think confidence and pride in police is inherently negative, it's obvious that the good work of good cops tends to defend the bad work of others. Additionally, victims of police overreach tend to appear guilty until proven innocent. This isn't right, but it's completely understandable. Humans naturally group things to make sense of their world, and we should be hyper-vigilant to ensure our innate biases do not undermine our pursuit of justice. A great example of this was captured by Mike and Damien, now under the handle of Rejects Media, after they posted their interaction on YouTube. Here's some footage of the court trial.
Are there any Douglas County policies on de-escalation?
Yes.
What are those policies?
If a person doesn't verbally listen to verbal commands, you take the next step up above.
What does that mean?
He didn't verbally comply, so I went hands-on.
And that's the policy of Douglas County?
Yes.
That you go hands-on following any refusal?
Yes. You always stay one step up above what the subject's actions are.
And that's considered Douglas County's de-escalation policy?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the word de-escalation?
Yes.
So you are testifying that escalating a situation is Douglas County's de-escalation policy?
The time of day, the time of night, what they were wearing, and how he was fidgeting became an officer safety issue if he had any weapons. So I detained him.
And basically, after a catastrophic explanation by the acting officer of his department's de-escalation techniques, the judge ultimately dismissed the 2 felony charges Damien accrued from this encounter and reprimanded the victim for essentially standing there, scary-like, not being cooperative.
And he starts giving him lip and telling him he's not going to do this and swearing at him, and it's a wonder he hasn't been taken to the ground and thrown in jail half a dozen times. And if you keep doing that, you're going to go to jail a half a dozen more times. So I'm not saying you did the right thing or that the officer did the wrong thing. I'm saying that under constitutional standards, I think he had a reasonable suspicion that criminal activity was afloat. And I think he had a right to approach you and ask you who you were and what you were doing. I can't find beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed a crime in the way that you didn't comply with his direction. I can't find that. But I'm not going to say he did the wrong thing or that you did the right thing, and I hope you can hear me. This case doesn't need to go any further. I hope you learned a lesson, and I really don't care if you didn't, but I'd hate to see this go any further.
While it's true Damien did not comply with the officer's orders, I did not perceive a situation in which the officer's safety was compromised. They were simply working on their car, which could be a valid reason to control the situation. The judge, in my opinion, made the correct decision and then refuses to adjudicate or even comment on the conduct of the officer. Surely, if the charges were dropped, it was for a reason. Fortunately, not all hope is lost. Tyrannical actors in local governments are not only being noticed, but they're being driven to extinction. Let me explain how. Content-based websites like YouTube are growing. Large-scale creators are making serious money. Don't believe me? Check out Twitch YouTuber Charlie at Penguin Zero. He recently released his earnings and took off all ways to monetarily contribute to him. Anyway, he pulls up his YouTube income tracker, his YouTube income tracker, and he shows the world his big, juicy $35 million, 800,000, 22.16 cents. Many people, including myself, adore Charlie for his authenticity. I don't watch Charlie much because the dude does not do editing and has a severely monotone voice, which makes you think this number all the more impressive. That was my best Charlie impersonation I tried. Other creators with less notoriety have figured out what I am currently discovering. Unless you are effectively a celebrity, you cannot simply speak at a camera and expect people to watch. Content is the gold mine. YouTubers are hungry for it. Hell, I'm hungry for it. This leads us to the content ecosystem, the current content ecosystem. Creators are dying to create, but generating good content is expensive, slow, and laborious. With the introduction and widespread support of police body cameras, you can now save on the cost of purchasing a second camera and microphone and generate suspenseful interactions, with police guaranteeing hundreds of thousands of views. All jokes aside, this is a controversial issue. On its surface, there's almost never an issue with recording a police officer. However, with all forms of media, controversy sells. These content creators are intentionally inflaming officers and creating confusion. Have you ever been suspected of drinking and driving at 2 a.m.? These content creators are now challenging police to walk a similar perfect line to the one you walked to determine their awareness, if you'll follow the analogy. It gets even more interesting, though. These content creators upload to the same websites and cover the same legal disputes. It's unsurprising that they exchange information, which is producing the fascinating side effect of a policing body of citizens that target weaker departments and essentially run train on them. The Random Patriot has released a few videos of him doing exactly that. For the sake of brevity, this video is of himself, and he's simply recording in a parking lot. The mayor of the city comes up, and he doesn't give him every piece of information he wants, and so the mayor essentially ends up bullying him for the rest of the video until towards the end of the video, the police show up, which is the only reason things calm down, is one of the police officers who showed up was a fan of the Random Patriots channel and had learned a lot from him and therefore reacted properly.
Civil rights on the sidewalk. What am I being
Tell me your
charged for?
name.
I'm Justin.
Justin?
Yeah.
Well, glad to meet you, Justin.
Yeah.
We
You're
got word of it.
let go of my hand.
Well, you want to shake
No,
hands?
he wouldn't let it go.
Oh, my goodness.
No, that's all on
All right,
camera.
you guys,
I tried to get
welcome
away
to
from. No, dude, you are a disgrace, dude. I'm gonna put you all
Okay.
over the internet.
That's fine.
Get out of my
That's fine.
get out of my personal
I'm
space.
just telling you, you're welcome to leave.
Get out of my personal.
Hey,
On another wholesome note, most of the larger content creators I sampled seem very good about giving each other credit for their work and even reaching out to victims to see if they could help. There are numerous YouTube lawyers that watch these videos, often reaching out or providing clarity. I realize you could write this off as them trying to drum up a lawsuit business, but I find that unnecessarily insincere. These creators often have a story of their own where they felt taken advantage of and unheard. So is this good or bad? Should attention-hungry content creators essentially harass government officials? The content creators would explain our government was created to serve us, and the police to serve and protect. The police would state that these confrontations are dangerous and impede their ability to do their jobs. Local government officials, yeah, the mayor should want to be on camera bragging about his city. He should love it. I am in no way qualified to give legal advice. I'm not going to give you my whole spiel. What I'm trying to say is I would comply with the police. Obviously, your rights are important. Comply, ask questions if you need to, and just get the footage afterward. It's not worth your life. I considered adding a compilation of the worst things I witnessed making this video as a warning, but I didn't think you'd enjoy seeing a man handcuffed, then taken to the ground head first, where his spine breaks, leaving him paralyzed while cops continue to consider him as resisting, and my God, and he's just sitting there begging for mercy. It was really rough. I did not finish watching the video. I believe he died. Know your rights, but equally as important, be safe. I considered recording myself doing a police interaction, and I never got around to it. However, I was recently at a party and I spoke with a police officer, and I wanted to hear great things. I was like, well, have you heard of these First Amendment auditors? And he's like, yeah, we get some training on it, not a big deal. Okay. Well, how do you feel about protecting people's rights, you know? Like, do you watch some of these things and wonder how the police went so wrong? And he was like, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And without prompting, he's like, I crossed the line once. And I was like, oh, okay. And I don't know if I want to go into detail, but really dark story. Really dark story. Completely unwarranted abuse of power. Anyway, it's going on. When I initially did the read through, I left out a portion that felt too unrelated. And when I said that I didn't interview a police officer on camera because I didn't have time, that's not entirely true, all right? I live here, I was hesitant, I didn't want to cause a bad reaction with the police officers, and there shouldn't be one. So for that reason, I want to go back and I want to read something that I wrote that I did not record for you. I viewed many of these interactions over the past few weeks doing research for this video, and I don't want to take a politically neutral stance because I do believe we should not be cowardly when it comes to transparency or our rights. For that reason, I feel obligated to agree with the content creators. However, for the current and future content creators, especially in this field, I have some advice. Content's fleeting, popular games change. As we saw with the Random Patriot, the more content you make and fame you gather, the less you'll be able to generate this caliber of content, which is good. The police, as they admit, will continue to learn and improve because of the risks you undertake. Do not allow yourselves to simply become content-hungry instigators. I believe long-term success in this niche will be truly marked by your compassion and character, as Penguin Zero demonstrated with his career. At a certain point, you become more than your content. People are there for you. Don't forget that.